Sanatan Dharma has always, throughout history, been a tradition full of festivals. In this religion, there are a great many festivals which are based on the seasons or have been celebrated for a variety of other reasons over time. From the birthdays of the divine avatars all the way to the ancient Vedic period. Whatever festivals have been celebrated, all of them have their own significance. And behind every single one, there is a science which is truly unprecedented. Among such festivals, among the ancient festivals, we can consider also known as Holika Dahan, Holaka, or the Great Spring Festival is the famous Holi festival known by these and other names. Regarding the festival of Holi, in Vedic texts we find the Mimamsa Darshan and the Kathaka Grihya Sutra. In such Vedic texts and similarly in later works like Hemadri, Smukriti Kaustubha, Varshakritya Deepak and Varshakriya Kaumudi, Nirnaya Sindhu, Dharma Sindhu. In these and other such religious texts and in Purana such as the Linga Purana, Varaha Purana and Bhavishya Purana, a description of the festival related to Holika is found. When we contemplate the great significance of this festival, we see it is a festival that people from all classes of society celebrate this festival. It is celebrated throughout the entire nation of India. In reality, it would be much more appropriate to call this a spring festival because all the various forms and vibrant colors of that particular festival are so absolutely identical to a spring festival that it appears perfectly suitable for being celebrated as one. So all the people having come together and united as one, each in their own respective manner, and it is celebrated with classical methods, so we will generally in relation to the scriptures for what is the form of this Holika festival and where is it mentioned in the scriptures. We will elaborate a little on these topics so that whatever forms of Holi are now being celebrated in the present day and the distortions that have crept into them, which society continues to distort further due to ignorance. Therefore, its original form, emotion, and devotion, in what form it is found, it is necessary to consider this matter here. There is Yajna named
Holaka Yajna,
which used to be performed by everyone. This is a Yajna prevalent throughout India, about which we find in the Mimamsa Sutra by Maharshi Jaimini, in the Mimamsa Darshan, in the first chapter of that philosophy, in the third Pad, in the 15th and 16th Sutron, there is an Adhikaran named Holaka Adhikaran. In it we find thoughts on this subject. So, at that time, what was one of its forms? What were they discussing? So let me give a brief introduction because this is a Vedic subject. So there is a discussion about a yajna where it is asked whether this yajna should be performed in a specific country or by a specific class, or is it meant to be performed by everyone. So it should be performed in all countries. This is the question from the Purva Paksh, and then there the answer is given that this yajna is to be performed by everyone. Such is the answer there. This is one original form we find there. After that, in the Kathaka Grihya Sutra, a special ritual by the name of Raka Holaka is mentioned. It is a ritual that women perform, one that is especially carried out for the sake of their own good fortune. So, as a special ritual for women, this has been called Raka Holaka. The meaning of the word Raka is the full moon. So, this was a ritual that was specifically performed on the day of the full moon. And regarding what we see in other scriptures about this, which is in the form of a playful activity, are the games that take place around the time of Holi. So perhaps later on in the very well known Kama Sutra text that was written by Vatsyayan, in it there is a description of many different kinds of playful activities. In that text, this festival of Holi is also described as being a form of sport or a game. So they throw colored water on each other and they also throw fragrant water. And this kind of game is played, and there are descriptions of various types of games and also group sports and so on. So this is one of those sports as well. And after that, we can look at Linga Purana. Inside the Linga Purana, there is a description of a children's game that goes by the name of Falgunika. It is meant to be performed during the month of Falgun, and that is why its name is Falgunika. So over there, for the sake of prosperity and for its attainment, while invoking a shower of prosperity, it is said that one should carry out this sport. We find a sentence exactly like that there. Falgune Paurnamasi cha sada bala vikasini Nyeya Falgunika sacha Nyeya loga vibhutaye. Here, two words have been used. That on the day of the Falguni full moon, Bal Vikasini is what this sport is. And it should be performed for Lok Vibhuti, which means so that people can attain worldly prosperity. That is to say, this was primarily performed at that time by the kings and emperors who ruled there. So it seems to have been performed mainly by them, because later this must have become a ritual for all people, as it was discussed in the Mimamsa Darshan. If one looks at it from that perspective, and in a very similar way, there is also a Churna Krida, which essentially means playing with colored powder. And regarding playing with colored dust and so on, a mention of a children's game is also found in the Varaha Purana. It was referred to by the name Patavas Vilasini. For example, Falgune Paurnamasyam to Patavasa Vilasini Nyeyasa Falguni Loke Karya Loga Samriddhaye. So the Varaha Purana also describes it in exactly the same way, that this game named Patava Vilasini on the full moon of Falgun, this is a game, and this too is for the prosperity of the people of the world, which is performed solely for the attainment of wealth and prosperity. Hence, we find terms like Lok Vibhutaye, Lok Samriddhaye. Perhaps for this reason, it gradually transformed from the form of that Yajna, and when it entered the Puranas, It was prescribed to be performed with the view that everyone should do it. So when all people behave in this manner, then it becomes quite natural that some rules are broken and it does not remain organized in that manner. So with this happening repeatedly, later as it underwent changes, it has transformed into what we see today, which is only a form of games and so on. It appears to be just as we see in the Mimamsa Darshan, and where we see it in the Grihya Sutra and in the Purana, this change is visible. In other Purano, for example, it is mentioned within the Vratkhand section of the Hemadri. This subject has been discussed while quoting from the Bhavishyotter Purana. There you will find the story of a demoness, and her name was Dhondha, who was known to be very aggressive. She would attack the young boys, the children, which means that diseases and other such ailments would come upon the children. So for the purpose of destroying that particular demoness, it was undertaken by the kings of that place. And similarly, there is a story regarding this ritual being performed by some very specific, distinguished people. In the same way, in the story of Prahlad found in the Srimad Bhagavat, in that very story of Prahlad, Hiranyakshipu's sister, Holika, you are already familiar with the story about her. Then, in some places, it is also connected with the story related to Putana's salvation. And in Bengal, very specifically, this particular festival is celebrated in the form of a festival that is called Dol Yatra. And so this Dol Yatra is very famous throughout Bengal. In that context, there's a book authored by Shulpani which is titled Dol Yatra Vivek, and inside it you will find a description of a very similar kind of ritual. So that ritual is also performed over there. And Navaneshti, which is the Navaneshti, when the new grain is harvested, an Ishti or offering is performed. This too is in accordance with Vedic tradition. That ritual is also performed in some places even to this day during the spring season when the new grain and when the wheat and other crops arrive, then its Ishti is also performed. And in several other Purano, there is the story of Shiva's burning of Kam. He burned Kamdev, and after he was burned in that spring festival, because Kamadev, the deity of love, is considered to be very closely associated with the spring season. And whenever Rati Devi and Kamadev are described, you will find this kind of description in various literary works and poems. And it is for this very reason that, as a symbol of Shiva's burning of Kam, this Holika Dahan, the burning of Holika, has been accepted. And in many other different ways as well, it's the sport, its playfulness, and its associated rituals are also found described in other ways. For example, there are books that go by the name of Varshakritya Deepak. Such a description is found in it. Prabhade vimale jade hyange bhasma cha karayet sarvange cha lalate cha kriditavyam pishajavat sindurei kungumaischaiva dhulibhir dhusaro bhavet Geetam vadyam cha nrityam cha kuryad rathopasarpanam brahmanair kshatriyair vaishyair shudreischa anyeischa jadibhi eki bhuya prakartavya kridaya falgune sata. Like this. It is a beautiful description that after the Holika Dahan, in the morning of the next day, by applying the ash, by smearing the dust of Holika, and later bathing is related to what people nowadays do by throwing colors or in other various ways. So it is said, Sarvange lalate kriditavyam, apply that ash on the entire body. And like ghosts, The mind is completely, uh, the mind becomes joyful, and they dance and sing, and with vermilion, kumkum, dust, etc., they smear their bodies. Along with that, there is song, music, and dance. And while doing all this, Rathya Upsarpanam, everyone on the street joyfully moves around singing and dancing, and they roam around like this. So, Brahmaneshcha Kshatriyesh is special. It is said that Brahmans, Kshatris, Vaishyas, Shudras, all castes and even other castes who are part of this. So, everyone, there is an old saying which teaches us that everyone should come together to do this, and it should be done in the very same way. So, as I said earlier, in the Mimamsa Sutra, what we find in the form of an Adhikaran, Holaka Adhikaran. So, the topics discussed in it have later undergone this kind of change. So, everyone practices it, they practice it in the same way. This is described here without distinction in the Varshakritya, and this text is also based on other Purans, and they describe it here, taking from that itself. Then the Holika home, which is now called Holika Dahan. Its description is also found in the Bhavishya Purana, Matsya Purana, etc. So in brief, it is like this. So as we had mentioned just a moment ago, there is a particular demoness, one who goes by the name of Dhunda, who would torment the children, inflicting pain and torment upon them. It is for their protection that the provision for this sacred fire ritual, this Yajna, is mentioned in these Purans. Tamagnim trihi parikramya gayantu cha hasantu cha gada sa rakshasi nasham tena cha ugrena karmana tadaprabhridi lokesmin holika khyadimagata sarva dushtapahoho maha sarva rogopashantitaha. This has been mentioned in a special way, and also the proper procedure for how to burn it using dry wood. This in a way can be considered a type of external fire. It is what is known as a worldly fire. This does not happen in a sacrificial fire. All these activities are performed in a worldly fire. And after performing various forms of worship, such as the Panchopchar Puja and the Shodshopchar Puja, then the fire. At the time when the fire is blazing intensely, at that moment, while circumambulating around the fire, they engage in singing, laughing, and dancing. This is precisely what is. This was stated to be for the protection of the children. Now, within this, a certain secret becomes apparent, and that is Sarva Dushtapaho Ho Maha. This home is the one that frees a person from all kinds of defects, and also Sarva Rog Upashantita. This home is also one that brings relief from all diseases. So there is a scientific perspective to this, because at that time, during the spring season, many different types of pathogens tend to spread. So among these are viruses, there are bacteria, and there are also different kinds of bacteria that spread from the flowers. So in order to suppress all of these, and regarding these bacteria and viruses that emerge, we are already aware that they have a much faster effect on children. It is for that reason, for the protection of the children, that lighting this fire at that particular time and to cause the ignition of this external fire using the wood and other materials from that area. This is perhaps very significant from that viewpoint, from the perspective of preventing diseases. So for this reason, this practice must have become prevalent, and this is also mentioned in the Grihya Sutras. So the meaning of this, that it has emerged as if it were a branch from the Vedic tradition itself. So this practice of Holika Dahan is very famous. Similarly, during the time of the holy fire, when the Holika Dahan, then at that time, based on the direction of the wind, some different results have also been mentioned, as in Purvam Vayo Holikayam Praja Bhupalayo Sukham. Purva Vayu, meaning the wind is blowing from the east, then at time, if the Holika Dahan happens, then the subjects and the king will both attain happiness. Based on this particular sign, this result has been stated based on what is called the Arishti Lakshan. Palayanam durbhiksham dakshine jayate dhruvam. If the wind is to the south, is blowing, the wind is flowing, then it means palayanam. Durbhiksham. So there is a possibility of all these calamities, palayan. Migration due to any reason, be it through war or through famine, will happen in that kingdom. Paschime trina sambhatti ruttare dhanya sambhava. And if the flow of wind is towards the west, then surely wealth in the form of grass will be obtained, meaning various types of grasses will grow and it will rain. And if it is towards the north, then grains, etsiru, collectively, there will be a greater abundance of grains. Yadishanepyana vrishtirurdhvam raja samashrayet. If the wind flows in the northeast direction, there is a possibility of drought. In this way, the burning, at the time of the burning, when the fire is lit, at that time all these signs are especially visible there. So this result has also been stated. So this is also so systematic, that is an indication towards nature and the festivals related to nature. Now, regarding the time of the Holika Dahan, I am going to briefly tell you about how the vow and the ritual should be performed and how the resolution should be taken. It is said that in this Sakutumbasya Mama Dhundha Rakshasi Pida Parihararthama Athava Samasta Durit Pariharartham Holika Puja Aham Karishye. You should make a resolution just like this. And following the previously mentioned procedure, one must gather the dry wood and other such items and then set them on fire. So it should be kept in mind that this Holika Dahan is not the same as simply burning garbage. That any things that you may have with you, any unnecessary items that are there, you should not put all of them in and burn them. This is a sacred yajna. In this ritual, one should use dry wood and other types of materials which are also utilized as offerings in a havan. It is only those kinds of items that should be utilized in it. And once the fire has been properly lit, it has also been mentioned for the purpose of invocation. Asma bhir bhaya samdrastair vridatvam holikeyataha adastvam pujaishyami bhute bhudi pradabhava. You should perform the invocation of Holika by chanting the mantra Holikaye Namah, and after performing the Shodashopachar Puja in brief. Tamagnim trihi parikramya gayantu jahasantu cha jalpandu swechaya loka nishanka yasya yanmatam. It is said that in this manner, after lighting the fire of Holika, when it becomes brightly illuminated and it begins to burn brightly, then all around that fire, all the members of the family and all the people of the village, whoever has gathered there, should perform Tamagnim Trihi Parikramya, that is circumambulated 3 times. After completing the circumambulation, they should sing, and whatever else they wish to convey, they should convey it to the fire, and by opening up their hearts with their own free will, saying Lokaha Nihishankaha Yasya Yanmatam. So it is said to do this while conversing, just as people have a dialogue among themselves. On the following day, that is the second day, the ash that is left over after the Holika Dahan, which in this place is also referred to as Gili Holi. So in that, colored water is poured, and this colored water is then poured on each other and they play with it. later on they go and take a bath.
त्वनस्तस्य दुष्कृतं किञ्चित् नाधायो व्याधयोऽपि च कृत्वा अवश्यकार्याणि सन्दर्प्य पितृदेवताः न तस्य दुष्कृतं किञ्चित् न आधयो न व्याधयः.
A person who does this is never afflicted by adhi, meaning mental ailments, and vyadhis and physical diseases do not cause them any suffering. And so by performing this act, the Pitadevatapi Santarpya, the ancestors and gods, they become pleased with it, or so it has been said. Then after that there is Sarva for the Dushtofapshantaye, for the cessification of all evil deeds, which means sins and all kinds of faults. You should offer your salutations.
वन्दितासि सुरेन्द्रेण ब्रह्मणा शङ्करेण च अतस्त्वं पाहि नो देवी भूदे भूतिप्रताभव.
Thus, while reciting this shlok, one should perform the Holika Vandana or worship of Holika. And it is very well known and it is a special thing that Holika. So in this way, performing Holika Dahan, playing Holi during the Holika festival, and also the dancing, and then after that performing ablutions like bathing, and then partaking in a special meal and so forth. So in this sense, it is indeed a festival, but on the day of Holika, it is considered that auspicious activities are forbidden. This means that other kinds of auspicious work are considered prohibited. People do not perform all those tasks on that day. Just as it has been said,
Holika Grihya Sutra Predadaha Divaso Atra Panchamaha Tatparam Karisamnyakam Dinam Varjitam Sakala Karmasu Bhayam.
Which means that on these particular days, these kinds of auspicious activities are considered to be forbidden. So in that the time of an eclipse is taken, both Ayana or solstices, Dakshinayan and Uttarayan, both of them, and also on the day of Holi, and then Pretadaha, the day of cremating the dead, and the day that is Kari Sanjak, which according to astrological calculations, on these days all actions are considered forbidden. That is to say, especially the duties and rituals prescribed by the Smart tradition are considered forbidden. Such auspicious deeds are forbidden, it is also written. And under special rules, if there is a eclipse or something similar on that day, and there's a special rule, then what should be done on that day, and how, this has also been specially explained in the scriptures. So many people have doubts on this subject about how it should be done on this day. For instance, this time the Holi festival, this year's Holi also has a lunar eclipses influence. So lunar eclipse is also happening. Therefore, Hera Bhadra Varja Paurnimasyam Holika Deepanam. So, in the event of a lunar eclipse, only on a Bhadra free full moon, the Holika Dahan should take place. The ritual burning at night, the Holika Dahan, and if there is a Grastodaya on the following day, that is, the meaning of Grastodaya is that Sutak and other restrictions apply and the lunar eclipse is afflicted. So at the time of that Grastodaya, Pradoshe Purnima Satve Karmakalam Parityajya Purva Dine
Chadurtha Yamadi Gaunakala Grahane Mana Bhavat Bhadra Bhavat Dvidiya Dine Grahana Kaleva Hola Karya.
Very next day, the rituals like bathing that are to be performed. So one should leave the full moon and perform that task on the second day, even if it is during the eclipse. It is said that they can do it. This is a special provision, because it is also in the scriptures that during an eclipse, what is for the Shodhak Sarp, that at the sighting of Rahu, Shodhak applies to everyone. It is common for all people. Only those who are sick or pregnant women, such elderly who are not well, so apart from them and the young children, the ignorant children, for everyone else, Sutak is considered applicable. Now, in that case, how should this be considered as Paspardhe Smarta Karma? How should Holika be considered? Then for that they say Snatva Karmani Kurvit. And according to this rule, after bathing, one performs the daily rituals and so on. Even during an eclipse, a special rite has been given for performing daily and occasional duties. Therefore, in relation to this special rite, it is described in the scriptures. This has been clearly stated here in the book named Varshakritya Deepak. So for this reason, because it is the time of the lunar eclipse, the ritual will still be performed, which is to say the festival will certainly be celebrated, but they will make a slight adjustment to the timing of it. So it will be performed at that time during the night. Now these specific details are written in the Panchang itself, so by looking at the Panchang, you will be able to remember all of these things. Now, regarding all of the festivals that we have, whatever festivals of Sanatan Dharma there are, whatever festivals of Hindus there are, whatever rituals, all of them are performed only after looking at the Panchang. Therefore, our Vikram Samvat and the specific calculation of the Panchang, all these decisions are made under its authority in relation to it and by taking it fully into account. The modern English calendars that are commonly used today from the perspective of our sacred rituals have absolutely no connection to it whatsoever. So any of its particular days or dates have any kind of relevance here. This is also something that everyone should keep in mind. For this reason, you must first learn to read the Panchang, and the Hindu the Panchang, which has 5 components, contains all of these important details such as Bhadra Uday and Bhadra Astame. This is also mentioned there, and in this way we perform these kinds of daily and occasional rituals. Thus, the description of the time and the specific period is written within it, so one should obtain that knowledge directly from it. We thought it was important to briefly shed some light on this particular topic here. So regarding this celebration, this festival has many different forms. In fact, the soul, the supreme being, the all-pervading soul that our Upanishads speak about, the experience of that very thing manifests itself in many forms. So this festival is also an experience of that same bliss. However, even though the scriptures state all of these things, what is going on nowadays is that people consume a lot of intoxicants, they engage in needless disputes and make a big racket. All of this that is happening is not prescribed by the scriptures. And because of this, our spirit declines, and for many days, because of that intoxication, the youth also get trapped in that cycle of intoxication and then later become afflicted by it. So that is why one should abandon those kinds of intoxications and other things that harm the body and mind. And instead, this festival should be celebrated from a perspective of pure joy, having completely abandoned such things. This is precisely the ordinance of the scriptures, and this is our most noble tradition.
Narayan, Narayan.